thanks for having me on, you guys. Thanks for bringing me part of the crew. Like, I feel like I'm part of the club right now. Talking to you guys is like literally sitting at a bar and talking to a bartender about it, because we all have different opinions, but we all have the same love for the birds. So just remember, once we open back up in Philly, go support your local restaurants, Smith's, Jose Pistola's, and anything like that in the city where you always go to their spots. And I'm sure that staff is struggling right now with not being open, and they probably miss all their regulars. So go support them when everything opens back up.
Amen, brother. God bless the nurses, the doctors, everyone on the front lines. God bless.
Sixers win it! Wow! Oh, man, and being just posterized Russell Westbrook. You love the Philadelphia Eagles! Let me get a hell yeah!
What's going on, guys? What's happening? It is Dives, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to Party on Broad. POB can be found on iTunes and Spotify. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are here watching us on YouTube. Joining us today is, of course, one of our co-hosts. It is Rob. Follow him on Twitter at Philly_Madness. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just loving reading all the tweets and the as expected, the apologists are out, right? The apologists are out. There is, now the apologists they've graduated to not only defending things but yelling at you if you're still not on board with it. So it's a lot of fun on Twitter these days. Someone sent me a picture, today. Let's play a game. If Carson Wentz gets hurt on the first play of the season, you're going to be pretty happy with this pick. Like, I mean, is that where we're going already? Like, just let me have my moment here, okay? I hope you can rub it in my – honestly, I hope you can, because that means Carson Wentz got hurt if you can. But let's just relax, Howie apologists. It's okay to criticize the guy every now and again.
Love it, love it, love it. Rob also does the Madness podcast with Jessica Town. You can find that anywhere you find your podcast, as well as here at the YouTube channel of the Painted Lines. And joining us today is a brand new co-host. He is JR. Follow him on Twitter at JohnRussell215. Welcome, man.
What's up, fellas? This is pretty sweet to be allowed in the club now. This is awesome. So happy to be here, tell you what.
Welcome to the club of losers, man. All right. So on tap for today, the NFL draft is over, and we are going to grade the Eagles on offense out of 5 and compare the current roster to 2019. But first up, before we get into our grades, let's talk about some of the main variables that went into your grading. Rob, lead us off, my man.
All right, so I did this not necessarily purely and solely based on talent. I went with some intangibles. I went with fit, comfortability, and you have to take some things into account. And like when we get to the wide receivers, we'll talk about it more. But age and things of that nature, and question marks, health-wise, and all that kind of stuff. So mine has a lot of intangibles to them as I do my grades. And they can easily be changed once we start playing games and seeing exactly what the talent on the field is going to look like.
Awesome. How about you, JR?
I took more of a look at the division type aspect. So all of my players, how we line them up by position, are going to get affected with how they line up in the division. Are they dead last, or are we talking maybe top of the tier of the division? So you'll see a lot of number grades, numerical value will reflect that.
Yeah, I went on just pure talent. What does it look like on paper? Because, last year was an absolute joke. I think probably I could speak for all of us here that we thought the offense was going to be lights out before the season started, and that didn't necessarily happen. But as we stand right now, I'm grading the Eagles offense 0 to 5 right now. So before we get started into that quarterback position, man, I ran a poll and I asked the fans about the strongest position on offense for the Philadelphia Eagles. Tight end won the poll with 56% of the votes. Quarterback came in second at 32%. Offensive line came in third, and running back finished with 2%. Did Twitter get it right, Rob? What's your quick take on the Eagles offense as it stands right now?
Yeah, here's where it is. I agree with the tight end position. and we'll talk about that when we get there. But you're talking about a tandem that is arguably the best tight end tandem in the league right now. With obviously being Ertz and Dallas Goddard. I think that the rest of the positional groups are fairly even, with the wide receivers maybe slightly below. And I know that they've addressed that, but it's a lot of unknowns on that wide receiver group. And because of that, that's why I might have them as maybe the lowest of all the position groups. But you'll see, I have a lot of these groups are right around the same place for me. So they were close. I mean, I think the running backs, just from a Miles Sanders perspective, deserves a little bit of a boost. I don't think they're below a couple of those positions, but I think they're pretty good. It's pretty right on.
All right. How about you, JR?
I'm there. I'm right there with you. We're gonna really see what happens. We're gonna dive into this in a minute, and I think we're going to be very much similar, but it's going to be interesting because we all graded 3 different ways. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see our own different spins on how we arrived to the grade we got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I fully agree with the tight end being number 1 in that poll, but there's no way the quarterback position can come in second there. The offensive line should have been second place. The quarterback, like the wide receiver position, has a ton of unknowns. Let's talk about the quarterback position because you have Carson Wentz, you have Jalen Hurts, you have Nate Sudfeld. Rob, how would you grade the quarterback position as it stands right now? And did it improve? Did it regress? What's going on?
So I gave it a grade of about a 3.5. All right. So I'm right around that average mark on a 1 to 5 scale. And there's a couple reasons behind it. And to be honest with you, to me, that's actually a shade lower than last year. And I know people are going to say, what are you talking about? The talent's a lot more, yet fair. But, Carson is a guy that has done well when he's had a backup who was a veteran, who he could lean on, he could go to, he could have these discussions. Well, when he turns around now, that guy's Jalen Hurts. And regardless of the pick, take that out of this. Jalen Hurts doesn't have experience to give Carson NFL type advice. You know what I mean? And that can make it uncomfortable. But listen, the Eagles could say whatever they want about this pick. There's obviously some concern on Carson Wentz's health. So I have heard some things that Carson, now he's not the type of guy to ever come out and bash anybody, but Carson is not happy about this. It's just, if it's a 3rd, 4th, 5th round guy, maybe he doesn't care, but a 2nd round pick, I don't think. And it makes for a possible uncomfortable situation when you get into that quarterback room. Nate Sudfeld, here's a guy who Howie Roseman in his press conference said wants to start. So I would have much rather had a veteran in there because Carson is still young, right? I mean, he's only in year 5. I like having that savvy vet who, even if they don't play, their experience when they're doing the quarterback meetings, watching film, help. Like Josh McCown may not have been talented, but you bet your ass Josh McCown played a major role in Carson Wentz's development last year.
Yeah, a lot of that goes into so much of the Jalen Hurts selection. You saw Jameis Winston sign for peanuts on a 1-year deal. So go ahead, JR.
I gave Carson a 5 out of 5. 5 stars, A+, the absolute definition of what you would want your franchise quarterback to be. I've been lucky enough to meet him a couple times, bartending in the city, nice. And he's never been, shown a mean bone in his body. The guy's just a real dude. And I think that this Jalen Hurts pick is going to really help him in the quarterback room, actually. I think that we spoke on the last podcast. I think that quarterback room needs to be strong for Carson. I think that's one of the things that he needs to have a room where guys he trusts. And you're right, there's no old veteran-wise backup there. But now I think Carson's going to take this role over a little bit. I mean, he's been in the league now for some years, so he knows what he's doing. And I think he's going to take that role with Hurts and just pick his brain just as much as Hurts picks his brain. And I think that he needed that quarterback room to be stronger. And I think Marty Mordenwig added in, we talked about that before, is another offensive mind that just has really been smart in the past. So I love the backup. I talked about that before. I love the starter. I really don't care about Sudfeld. But still, it's a 5. This is by far the best quarterback situation in the NFC East, at least.
Okay. Yeah. So here's my take. The two biggest questions, man. One, how long can Carson Wentz stay healthy? And two, how much can Jalen Hurts positively impact the offense in 2020? I personally gave this position a 4 because the talent is there, but let's be honest. Carson Wentz still has questions to answer. And beyond that, so does fucking Doug Peterson. And you got to start with Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz hasn't been able to finish the season, and I can't go any higher than a 4 based on the significant amount of questions here. All eyes will be on Jalen Hurts and how he's implemented into this offense. I do not buy for one fucking second that this Taysom Hill crap, man. And I hope I'm dead wrong. I honestly do. I love Jalen Hurts. He's such a great guy, great draft pick, not for the Eagles. I feel for Jalen Hurts. But the Eagles' offense was completely out of sync for pretty much the entire season in 2019. And how they handle another quarterback coming into the mix will be absolutely fascinating. I have no doubt that all of ESPN and all the national broadcasts will be watching exactly this. So,
and that's part of where my grade comes from, because we are just getting over, as many people call them, the Folesian Society. The Folesian Society is finally starting to fade. And Carson, listen, what Carson did the last 4 games of the year solidified this is his squad. I mean, that was an unbelievable run with some guys that I probably ran into at ShopRite or Ace Hardware the other day, catching footballs from them. All right. So, and now it's those questions come rolling back around, and I don't care how strong of a player you are. That's the worst argument to me that I've heard on Twitter. Oh, well, he should want competition. Well, no one's saying Carson doesn't want competition, but he shouldn't have to look over his shoulder for a guy who was drafted pretty damn high in Jalen Hurts, who has a pedigree in college of being a winner. It's like I would have felt better if they drafted Eason in the 3rd round. Like, okay, then I don't think you're looking over your shoulder as much, but Hurts has that, Mike Vick aura around him. And that is where I get very concerned. I had him at a 4 as of last year because of the way the year ended, and I dropped them down a half this point. It's not a huge change, but I do think they're a little worse off right now because of all this craziness that's going to surround it.
Yeah, man, I am a huge believer in Carson Wentz. I'm a big Carson Wentz guy. I hate the Jalen Hurts pick. That's not going to change. You lose the leadership in the locker room from Josh McCown, but you gain significant talent on the field, yet unproven talent on the field with Jalen Hurts. I personally think we're slightly improved than last year because, no different than last year. Carson Wentz had a ton of questions coming into 2019. So I ran a poll last night and asked Twitter who would have more receptions in 2020, and Jalen Hurts. It was Jalen Hurts or JJ Arcega-Whiteside. And sure enough, Jalen Hurts won the poll with 59.
I voted Jalen Hurts.
That's terrible.
I love it. I love Eagles Twitter.
I voted Jalen Hurts for no other reason than just to be a prick, really. I mean, that's what I did.
Love it. And then I think the other question here is, I think the biggest question, and I go back to Dougie P., is that I ran a poll asking Twitter if the Eagles fans trust Doug Peterson will implement a system that goes to the benefit of both Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. Yes won the poll with 43%. However, 39% voted no and 17% voted not sure. So clearly there's, the jury is out there. What about you, Rob? Do you think, in your gut feeling, do you think Jalen Hurts is going to be a positive impact on the field in 2020?
Honestly, I hope not. And I know that sounds bad, but I want Carson to be healthy for 16 games. I want him to get this team to the playoffs. I want him to play in that whole playoff game without a cheap shot to his helmet. I want this to be the coming out season for Carson. I wanted that pre-Jalen Hurts. I want that post-Jalen Hurts. I want this to be the Carson Wentz that now, he's got the speed. He's got the confidence after those 4 games, as actually Josh McCown alluded to this week on a podcast, talking about Carson's confidence is at an all-time high right now.
Yeah.
And he's got to play off of that. And, when it comes to talking about Doug Peterson, I truly am not sure, because there's a little bit of young Andy Reid in him where he's got his system, he knows what he wants to do, and even though maybe he should make an adjustment, he doesn't always do it. He has shown the ability to do it more than Andy did early on, but he doesn't always do it, and that is what concerns me a little bit.
How about you, JR? Do you have trust in Doug Peterson's play calling?
Yes. We just won a Super Bowl, people. Hello? I spent 30 years of my life waiting for a Super Bowl, questioning front offices, questioning head coaches, and I got one, and they got me there. So I'm going to trust what they're doing. And I know that for this season to be a success, Jalen Hurts cannot play. I know that. And I am the biggest supporter of this pick. But for us to be successful this year, to us to do 10 to 11 wins, Carson has to do it. It's his team. Howie and Doug have said, you are the franchise quarterback. You are everything. And our team is good. And it's a luxury of being good that we could select a quarterback in the second round, because that's a hole we needed. We don't have many holes. We are good. This is a luxury of being good. And Doug shored it up. This is like a Patriots-type team. You have speed on the outside. You got backs in the backfield that are all mobile and quick and can catch out, and you have your franchise quarterback. Like, we're building what the Patriots did with the tight ends and everything. Trust the process. We can hate all the Sixers or the Phillies with their managers and what we got over there. But right now in Philadelphia and the Eagles, we have an okay head coach in front office. Let's calm down.
All right. Fair enough. So let's move on. Oh, wait. Before we move on, JR, what did the quarterback position improve, regress? Where are you at with that?
Significantly improved. We got rid of an 80-year-old quarterback for a kid who was a Heisman finalist back-to-back years. Yeah, we're better, believe me.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to the running back position. All right, so we got Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Elijah Holyfield, Michael Warren, and Adrian Killins. Killins has to be the best name for a running back of all time. I don't care. All right, Rob, lead us off, man. How would you grade the running back position, and has it improved, regressed, or is it a push?
Well, I got it at a 3.5 again. It's my favorite number, and they added Corey Clement back into the fold today on a 1-year deal.
Yes, I didn't know that.
We did something that came out a couple hours before we did this. So that I'm glad that they did that. I was for 2 years, I begged for the Eagles to bring Jordan Howard here. I thought Jordan Howard could be a really good back here in a system. And they finally got him, and I was super pumped. People were making fun of me, because they thought it was just this little move last year. And I was so excited for Jordan Howard to be here. And then I was a big proponent all year of finding a way to re-sign him as the, change of pace back, in a sense, for the Miles Sanders and then obviously with Boston Scott the way it came on. So losing him was, I think, a loss. And yes, they signed some of these undrafted free agents. I would have liked to have seen them at some point in the draft address that position, because I think that if you watch the NFL now, most teams are running the committees. You're not getting that bell cow back anymore. It's just not how it goes. And it really upset me when the report came out that if Jalen Hurts wasn't on the board, one of the guys they were looking at, which would have been a surprise, but I think we all would have been happy, was Dobbins out of Ohio State. I think all of us, we all might have been like, oh, running back, but then in the same moment been like, yo, but this dude can play. And now he's going to be a part of a tandem with Miles Sanders. I think that would have been a really exciting second-round pick. So I would say I guess it's the same thing as the quarterbacks. It's a slightly worse because I like having that bruiser back, and I don't know if they have that yet. Maybe one of these undrafted guys become that. Maybe Clement can stay healthy this year, and he could be, a good back for them to have. It's probably leaning towards a push, but just because of the loss of Jordan Howard, I'll give it a slight downgrade.
All righty, go ahead, JR.
Well, in terms of our division, this is like the one category that kind of sucks because Miles Sanders is, I think, really great, like we all do. But you're going against Zeke and Saquon. But we all wanted Miles Sanders to get more touches. I can remember last year, Twitter was big on that. And for him to be successful, and I think what Doug wants to do is maybe 15 to 20 touches a game, whether that's swinging out of the backfield or literally getting the RPO handoffs. And if that's the case, then you're only talking 5 to 10 touches for another running back, because we're really not a run-first team. Sanders in the running back position is kind of option 2 or 3 for us most plays. So if that's the case, who's going to get those 5? Is Corey Clement really going to do that? Is Boston Scott a fluke? There's question marks after Sanders, who's already a question mark. With that being said, I was a 3.5. I was right there with you.
Yeah.
To me, that's kind of like a B-. It's not great. It's not bad. We're kind of right in the middle with our running back situation. If Sanders takes that leap, though, with obviously what Doug and Howie thinks, then we're talking next year we're at least over a 4 to 4.5. So, we'll see. A lot depends on this O-line and Carson being healthy.
Has it slightly improved? Where you at with 2020, man?
You can't say it improved after losing Jordan Howard. I agree with everything you said. I mean, I loved him coming here too, and I'm going to miss him. Can't stay healthy. That's the NFL. We'll just get someone else in here who can. And Boston Scott showed up at the end of the season, so give the kid a shot. Let's see what happens.
Amen. Yeah, like both of you guys, man, I really believed in Jordan Howard, and I really hoped he would have returned on a team-friendly deal, but here we are. With more vertical threats on the outside, I truly think that Miles Sanders is probably the biggest benefactor here of guys like Rager, Goodwin, Hightower. You have speed on the outside. The field is finally in 2 years for the first time going to get spread apart. And, all signs point to a monster season from Miles Sanders in 2020, especially if that Jalen Hurts selection gives Doug Peterson the 2017 playbook that we all hope he brings. But man, Boston Scott was a real source of hope last season. I can't wait to see him for a full season. I think he's going to do less punt return, less kick return this season, because the Eagles brought in a lot of guys on special teams that I think really improved the special teams. And another key factor here when we talk about the running back position is Andre Dillard. And I think that is a major factor here, especially in terms of just, protecting Carson, but also creating lanes for especially that left side of the offensive line, because Seumalo and Andre Dillard are going to be kind of, at least for me, what I'm watching if there is even an offseason or a mini camp or what have you. So if everything goes to plan, if Andre Dillard is that first-round pick, we think he's going to be that left tackle for 10 years that we think he's going to be. I grade this position a 3.8. I give it a 3.8. I guess I'm the highest one here. I thought I was going to be the lowest. But I give it a 3.8. I see it as slightly improved. And I love the Corey Clement signing. I was working all day, so I did not see that until now. So that's fun. Initially, I don't believe in Killins. I don't believe in Warren. Those are guys, if you could bring in a vet, that would be more beneficial. So I'm happy about Corey Clement, man. One of the best touchdown catches I've ever seen in my life in that Super Bowl by Mr. Corey Clement, man.
And I don't want to make light of it because, and I know that they're not a running team, but when you think of the two of the bigger wins, we'll say earlier in the season for this team, was Green Bay and Buffalo last year. And in both of those games, the running game really took – I mean, the Green Bay game especially. We kept Aaron Rodgers off the field. Jordan Howard was a freaking stud that day. And it was a Miles Sanders run in Buffalo that kind of got the thing rolling a little bit. And they were two of the biggest wins. And that's one of the things with Doug. I understand you're a pass-first guy. No problem with that. It's a pass-first league. But this team is at its best when that running game is playing a role. And to do that, you got to make sure you have the horses. And I don't want to see you overuse Miles Sanders. And hopefully they won't. So we'll see.
Yeah, when you look at Quez Watkins, you look at John Hightower, you look at Jalen Rager, you look at Jalen Hurts. There are too many Jalens, Jesus Christ. But all signs point to more, misdirects, more reversals, more runs, more RPOs. And that's what we saw in 2017. I don't know how that impacts Miles Sanders. I think it's going to really spread the field. But 100%, Rob. They got to run the ball. When Carson's throwing 40, 50 times a game, That is not the recipe for success. Any reaction to that, JR?
This team, you guys just got me thinking, and I was on my phone looking at the rosters. This team is really looking like some 2001 St. Louis Rams type with our own version of Marshall Faulk in the backfield. We have Bruce, we have Holt, we have Azakim. Like, we have kind of this little I don't know, that came to my mind, and so did the Patriots earlier. So if those two things are kind of what our offense is looking like, then that's good to me. I'm okay right now.
Oh, man, I'd be more than okay with that. All right. So let's move on to the tight end position. We've got Zach Ertz, Dallas Goddard, Josh Perkins, Alex Ellis, and some guy named Noah Togai. Jesus, I don't even. I apologize in advance to that one.
Drafted free agent signing. Like, that was the first one I think that got announced.
Whew. That's a mouthful. Go ahead, Rob.
All right. So I gave the. And I would say it's probably about the same as where it was last year. You really didn't add anything to it. It might even be, listen, 3 years ago, I could have strangled Josh Perkins every time I saw the guy on the field. I hated Josh Perkins. He was nothing more than someone to just piss me off when I saw him on the field. But last year, when it was, the night of the living dead out there, and it was all these injured bodies, and he had to play, he made some nice catches for this team. The one against the Giants on that touchdown pass sticks out.
Yep.
So, maybe that playing time gets him a little more confidence, and you have a third tight end that I think they had tried to bring in some veterans like Richard Rodgers, and it didn't work out, and things of that nature. So, look, the fact of the matter is, though, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goddard are two of the best tight ends in the league. Literal, and I know Goddard's stats may not say it, but if you watch the guy play, and they're on the same team. And that right there makes it almost impossible to give it any less than a 5 or a 4.5, because of that. I mean, they are such mismatches in the middle of that field. And I think it's the best tandem in the league. I mean, I don't know of another tight end tandem that is better than this. I'm sure there's a couple that people would argue, but so this is definitely the best spot on this offense, and I'll go with the 4.5.
Love it. Go ahead, JR.
5-star across the board. I don't think there's another unit, like a tight end group that you would have in the tight end office where they're having all their tight end meetings. I don't think there's a collective group in the whole NFL that's better than what we have. And they got to be huge too, which I think they will be. I think we're going to really see Dallas shine this year. 2 tight end sets are going to just be, like you said earlier, that's what all we run. So let's just pray to stay healthy, and they're going to absolutely dominate. That's a 5.
5. And all right, Rob, did they slightly improve, regress? What's your opinion on the tight ends?
I think that they have stayed the same, but this is one of those that can be an improvement real quick if Goddard takes that next step. I think we've seen the flashes, but if he could take that next step to make it more consistent, some of those catches he made at the end of the year last year were incredible.
Yeah.
Then I think that it will become better very, very quickly into the season.
He had some drops too. That's worth mentioning. How about you, JR? Did they improve, stay the same? What about you, man?
I'm going to give him a regression, which is odd because I'm going both back-to-back player personnel as regression. I think Rodgers last year was good. I liked him as a third tight end. I thought that was a smart signing. Get a veteran in the room, but it didn't work out. I really am pretty green on the other guys we have on our roster, mainly because unless it's Perkins, I'm not going to know who you are right now. We'll have to see the camp. So we'll see. I mean, like a slight regression, I think, from last year.
Okay. All right. So, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goddard, Josh Perkins continues to be one of the best trios in the NFL at the tight end spot. The Eagles exercised Zach Ertz's contract. So an extension is kind of looming for Mr. Zach Ertz. So to me, in 2020, Zach Ertz playing for a monster contract, I think only means an improvement at the tight end spot. Dude, that guy's going to be crazy. Goddard, he's coming off 58 receptions last season. You only got to see more positives coming out of this kid in 2020. Perkins is solid in that third tight end role. I see this as slightly improved in 2020. I gave them a 4.8. So, is it the best in the NFL? I gave them like slightly beyond, below that, because we have to remember, and it has nothing to do with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goddard, but maybe more so Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz. But when Zach Ertz got hurt, the offense was a shit show, and they didn't know what to do. The offense was completely bananas. It was just a mess. So no team runs more 2 tight end sets than the NFL, man. And the Birds are one of the best in the NFL. So 4.8. That's to me, that's like elite. So that's as high as I didn't give him a 5, but I gave him a 4.8. So slightly improved from last year. I think Goddard takes that next step, and Ertz is Ertz. He's going nowhere. All right. So let's move on to wide receiver. This is going to be fun. Rob, go ahead.
All right. So there's a lot of things that play into this wide receiver group for me to make a ranking. One of is that unknown of Alshon Jeffrey. I know we have all pretty much called it a hell-bent, foregone conclusion that he's gone. But when I hear Jalen Reagor say that Alshon reached out to him to welcome him to the team, to tell him just be ready to win and all that stuff, it doesn't sound like a guy that thinks he's going anywhere. Somewhat concerning to me. But even if he is here, he's not going to play until the 8th week of the season because of the injury. So you have that situation first and foremost. Desean Jackson. We love Desean Jackson in Philadelphia. But can he stay healthy? I know he's got a chip on his shoulder now that people are telling him he's not the number 1 receiver here and all that. But I personally believe his health is of vital importance. And the main reason because of that is the rest of these guys, as great as their tape has looked and as fast as these guys are as much of unknowns as any wide receiver coming into the league as rookies. Whether it's first-round pick Jalen Reagor, whether it's the late-round guys in John Hightower and
Quez Watkins,
and look, we love Greg Ward too. It's a great story, but does he continue to progress at this point? So I won't say that they regress because I think that would be a very unfair thing to say. But it's hard for me to say that they are better yet because everything that would make them better, we need to see it. And it would be really hard for me sitting here today to say, oh, yeah, we're better. Now, is the potential there? Absolutely. There's so much more speed on the field. Deshaun's health, if he's out there, he's a dynamic playmaker. But I need to see these rookies, primarily Reagor, because, look, you draft guys in the 5th, 6th round at wide receiver. It's like throwing darts at a dartboard with your eyes closed, and you're just hoping you get close. I mean, it happens all the time. And like I said, the thing that did not make me feel good with both guys, when you read scouting reports on them, they talked about drops being a key issue. I can't do it again. I can't just watch drop football again. I can't put my mind through it. I will lose it. So I have them at a 3, which is not the worst, not the best. It's average. And I think that that's fair right now because we just need to see it on an NFL field. I know you love Reagor, Chris. I know it. And by God, I hope you're right. I hope everyone could say, Rob, you were a jackass when you reacted the way you did. But I need to see it at this point before I can give him credit for being that type of a player.
Yeah, man, I am a stone cold believer in Jalen Reagor. You know what I did when the Eagles first drafted him? I watched Desean Jackson rookie highlights when he was with the Eagles, man. And sure enough, D-Jax was absolutely lights out that rookie year, man. Go ahead, JR.
I'm just putting up some stuff from our notes the other day. Joe Burrow, the number 1 overall pick, he finished the year with a 94.9 quarterback rating in college. That's number 1. Jalen Reagor's quarterback, he finished with a 31.1 rating. He was ranked 108th best starting quarterback in college football. 108th. This dude couldn't hit a barn if he was next door. And the fact that Jalen Reagor put up the numbers he did is fascinating.
Amen.
Another fun fact about him, too, when he was interviewed on February 25th about the draft, he was talking to Howie and Doug. He said he watches Tyreek Hill film every single day. That's who he watches. That's who we just got. For anyone who isn't sold on him yet, get everything out of your head and stop listening to the experts on TV and the media tells you that this kid was a bad pick. It's coming out now. The teams are going to trade up to get him. So I think Rager's going to be fine. I think he'll be in the X spot. I don't think Alshon will ever put a helmet on again.
No.
I saw the tweet that he sent to Jalen, and that's definitely his people. That's his PR people saying, yo, you have kind of like not so good PR right now. Send this kid out a tweet and look like the good guy. That's all that was. That was his camp getting on him and saying him to do that. Sure. I don't think he'll be an Eagle. He won't suit up. But how about this? Rager ran a 4.2840. Marquis Goodwin, when he was a rookie, he ran a 4.27. John Hightower, 4.43. Quez Watkins, 4.35. And Desean Jackson, when he was a rookie, he ran a 4.35. So if you don't really know about Quez Watkins, this kid's Desean type fast. Yeah. I think all these receivers are going to be playing this year. And Desean, I don't think we'll be getting 35 to 45 snaps this year. His body can't take it physically for 15, 16 games, whatever we end up playing. Desean's going to see around 20 to 30 snaps, maybe, max, capped out at it, inside the 20s mainly too. And then you're going to have all these other guys rotate in. They can play the Z. All it is fly routes, or you're a fake phantom blocking. Like Desean doesn't have to be in the game and risk injury for all that stuff. You got all these guys to go. We literally have a 4x100 right now on the field. Our receivers are a track team that runs the 4x100, and they're going to be coming in and out. Do I think we got better than last year? I think we got a hell of a lot faster. Overall, I think we're very green. We're going to need to see a lot of progression and quick, especially last year coming out of Whiteside, because I know a lot of people hate him. One of my best friends, DJ Rafford Pryor, he hates him with a passion. And I just keep telling him, inside the 20s, he'll be fine. He's going to have specific packages for him. Maybe the rumors coming out last year about how he couldn't learn the playbook were true. But now even another year under your belt and you're a former high pick, he's got to produce this year. So who knows? I think our receiver core is going to be a hell of a lot different than last year. So, yeah, why not? I'll say it got better. I'll give it a 3.5, and let's see.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, so I'm in the same boat, man. Love the Jalen Rager pick. He's a perfect fit for the offense. He's got elite speed to be a vertical threat for Carson Wentz, but also, move all around the field. I love the Tyreek Hill comparison, but also play in that slot, So the Eagles selected so many Z guys. And how much can you count on Desean Jackson in 2020? You nailed it, JR. I was going to touch on that a little bit. Like, do we think that Desean Jackson could play less this year and just kind of keep him fresh for the playoff push? I don't know about you guys, man, but I'm completely sold or completely out on JJ Arcega-Whiteside. I'm done with that guy. I would rather surround Carson with speed, guys that are versatile, can play all over the field, get yards after the catch. Dude, this position was a train wreck last season. I'm right at a 3. I can't go over a 3 right now until I'm proven otherwise. Greg Ward, he better play, man. He better make the 53-man roster. If anything that came out of last season, Greg Ward deserves, an opportunity to make the 53-man roster. He was awesome. I ran a poll on which wide receiver would lead the Eagles in total yards in 2020. D-Jax led the voting with 51%. Jalen Rager came up with 35%, and JJ Arcega-Whiteside came up with 7%. You know what that screams to me? No one fucking knows. And there's so much in the air with the wide receiver position. I'm afraid. I am legit afraid of this position, quite frankly, because if there are injuries and you have guys like Quez Watkins, John Hightower starting, getting significant amount of snaps on the outside, and they're not ready, that's the only reason I'm concerned. I don't expect much from Goodwin. I think that guy is just like a presence. That guy can be easily off the roster come spring, whatever. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I Marquis Goodwin. I mean, look, you didn't give anything up, so that's fine. You made the move, but he could be the next line of veteran wide receivers who come in here and don't make the roster, especially with all the moves you made. But I'm with JR on Arcega-Whiteside. I'm not ready to write this guy off yet, just because I think after 1 year it's quick. Last year the whole offense was off, so you just don't know. He showed flashes there late. He made a couple really nice catches late that kind of stick out in my head. And the one thing I'll say is this. I understand they're fast, and they needed to get faster. There's no doubt about that. But you got to catch football. And if these guys, that's great if you could run the 4x100. But if you ain't catching the football, they ain't going to matter. And I'm not saying that they can't, but I think that's why all of us, I think, our grades, and to say that they're green, JR, is perfect. All of our grades are a little lower because this is the position we need to see it. And guess what? It's got to be fast for a couple of – like Rager has to be fast, not necessarily for us three here, but you know this fan base. 100%. And you know if Rager comes out and struggles the first 4 or 5 games, it is going to be ridiculous. And I hope – he seems like a mentally tough kid, which is a good thing. I think I made a lot of jokes leading up to the draft, and I just want a mentally tough receiver because I can't have another Nelson Aguilar who literally has to take a game off because he's all messed up in the brain. So it's going to be an interesting position. Yeah, I love having a lot of speed. I just hope that they catch with it. I hope the ball goes into their hands this year.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this draft, but I think I speak for everyone here. One of Hightower, Watkins, or Goodwin need to be legit rotation players on this roster. They missed out on Denzel Mims. I'm still fucking pissed off about it. But that needs to happen. What about you, JR?
I think we should say why people hate Whiteside. Because last year, like we said earlier, we were pulling guys out of the stand to play wide receiver, and Whiteside was healthy all year, and he didn't step up. He didn't perform what he should have where he was drafted. He was 22 years old, and the lights were real bright on him, and there was a lot of pressure in one of the biggest media markets in the world on a 22-year-old kid to deliver, and he didn't. But that's why I think he gets a pass, because you know how hard that is? Like a 22-year-old kid and everyone else is dead around you, and you're the only wide receiver who's been in this locker room for the last 3 months. Like now you got all these new guys. So he gets a pass from me. I think he will be fine, especially if we return to normalcy with injuries. So, yeah, that's all I got. Just want to tell people, don't hate Whiteside.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone that's going to earn his paycheck, man, it's fucking Aaron Moorhead, man. That guy has a lot on his plate this offseason. All right,
do you remember him? He was the player for the Colts. I definitely remember him as like a third or fourth receiver.
Absolutely. Peyton throwing him the ball at times. I can remember him running down the field a lot.
How many times was he in a meeting with Peyton Manning and just picking his brain and learning? Because we know everything about Peyton. He ran every team he was on, every offensive meeting. So this guy is going to have some information.
And that's a good point, that there are a lot of the whole offensive staff is practically new outside of Deuce and Stout. And I think that's going to play a role too. Like, look, I said numerous times last year that the offensive coordinator and the wide receiver coach had zero clue what they were doing. Like just zero clue. When Mike Rowe, when your father fires you from a coaching job, you know that you're not good at what you do. And we gave him the offensive coordinator role. Now, I know that they don't have an offensive coordinator, but the guy from the Broncos, Sangarello, is a good quarterback guy. So I'm hoping that helps with the Carson Wentz side of things. And then obviously I like this Moorhead guy. I love former players coaching. I think that, and especially as JR just said, you're talking about a former player who was in meetings with Peyton Manning. It doesn't really get much better than that.
Look at Deuce. I mean, I think, at least for me specifically, I wanted Deuce to get promoted, and hopefully that's a trend. All right. So
did you hear what Jordan Howard said when he was a free agent before he left? He said in all his years playing, Deuce Staley was his favorite coach he ever had in his life. Mm-hmm. I mean, that just speaks volumes to say, how far Deuce has come, because I remember when he was just on quality control on the sidelines, and like, yo, Deuce is still part of the team. That's awesome.
Yep.
I think Doug's done a great job with him, and that's credit to Doug, who got it from Andy. So, we've put that over Doug a lot of times. He's just like Andy Reid. There's an Andy Reid clone, but Andy's got a pretty big coaching tree. And if Doug can have a tree like that, then I guess we're doing something right.
Yeah. Man, good point. Great point. All right, let's move on to the offensive line position. All right, so we got Dillard, we got Sayamalu, Kelsey, Brooks, Johnson, and a lot of guys. Go ahead, Rob. Let's do it.
All right, I'm going to go with my favorite score of the night, and I'm going to go with a 3.5. I think it's fair here, and I will tell you that to start the season, will have them slightly worse. Why? I know Jason Peters wasn't the same guy, but you're still trying to replace a Hall of Fame left tackle. and you're replacing him with a kid who we just don't know about yet in Andre Dillard. I think that's a huge look. The whole offensive line to me, it comes down to Andre Dillard. You know what the other guys are. Now, hopefully, Brandon Brooks can get back from this injury and be okay, and you won't have to worry about that too much. But to me, it's the Andre Dillard thing because all the guys behind the starting five are – you want to talk about green. I mean, that's what we got here. We got a green group of – there are a lot of guys there. You got plenty of guys that you can plug in. But who is Jack Driscoll, Prince Tega Wanago, Matt Pryor, Jordan Mailata? Who are these guys yet? You know, I mean, they need a lot of work. Like a lot of people said about this Jack Driscoll kid who they drafted, the potential's there. Same thing with Prince. And fortunately, they get to work with Jeff Stalin. But how long is that going to take? Because God forbid Andre Dillard can't play and they don't make – you know, I put on Twitter today, and I know people are going to tell me I'm nuts. It's time to move on. Right now, I would put a call into Jason Peters and just gauge where he's at. Not to come back and even start, but almost say, look, we need some depth here. We need a contingency plan if Dillard can't get out of his own way. I don't know if they'll do it. I doubt it. But, you know, it's to me, you got to at least think about it.
Nightmares of Winston Justice getting his first start. Was that the Giants? I think it was versus the New York Giants. Oof.
Yeah, he owned him. He left them on a freaking island against one of the best pass rushers in the league. I was at that game. I actually was up in New York for that game, sitting there going, are we going to chip somebody over there? not in the cards that night.
All right. Rob, did they slightly improve, regress? Where are you at with that, man?
I'm going to say that they slightly regress just because you're talking about replacing a Hall of Famer. And that's a regression. I mean, any way you look at it, that's a regression.
Sweet. Go ahead, JR.
I think you guys already nailed it when you said this all revolves around Dillard. But let's go even further. This is Jeff Stalin. This is on him, dude. You've had the first-round pick Dillard for over a year now. You're supposed to be this great offensive line coach. This kid better be able to play. Like we gave you the Play-Doh. You're supposed to mold it into like a great starting left tackle. Like these are what teams draft for and pick these high guys for. Stalin's supposed to be this great offensive line coach. Let's see how it is. I think another one with him is going to be Mailata. Where's this kid been? What's the progress on Jordan Mailata? I mean, you know, he has a great story behind him, and he's a freak of nature. He's huge. Let's see if he really got his head in the playbook. He can be a valuable backup in case anyone goes down. He can plug him in. I'm right there. I didn't go 3.5. I gave 3.25. I think we're a little worse without Peters, but that could be a situation kind of like what we thought last year or 2 years ago after Chris Long retired. He always left it kind of open to us, like, yo, you ever pick up the phone and call me? Maybe I'll come for like the second half of the season. That's something I could see maybe Jason Peters going down that route too. Who knows if he actually will, but I think his phone will always be on if Doug wants to give him a call.
Yeah, man. Wow. I am shocked because I guess I'm drinking the Kool-Aid here because on one end you lose Jason Peters, but he had to me an average above average year. Jason Peters last year. You know, Big V got starters money. Kudos to Big V. We love you. Thanks.
This was the Jason Peters symbol last year. This was the Jason Peters symbol because I feel like he has a game.
That's where I was going. You know, big props to Big V because he won us a Super Bowl. Congratulations on the contract. But man, nothing else can be said about Brandon Brooks, Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson. They're superstars. I'm a little off and on about Isaac Seumalo, but the dude is versatile. I can't complain about Isaac Seumalo. But like you guys absolutely nail, like this all goes on the shoulders of Andre Dillard. And I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm the glass half full guy here, surprisingly. Usually I try and like stay even keel, you know, stay realistic. But I'm not a Jason Peters guy. All that guy did was false starts, penalties again and again and again. And I look at Andre Dillard, you know, you traded up for Andre Dillard. You traded up 3 spots in the first round. It's time for the Andre Dillard era to begin. I'm excited for that. I love watching prospects. That is like the nuts and bolts of me as a fan of football and basketball, you name it. Andre Dillard is hands down the most important piece to the success of the Philadelphia Eagles next season. I did a poll before this podcast, and I asked Twitter, outside of Carson Wentz, who is the most important player to the Eagles? Andre Dillard won the poll with 41% of the votes. D-Jax went 30% in second place. Zach Ertz was 17% in third place. But man, if Andre Dillard plays as a first-round pick, dude, this is one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. I gave them a 4.5, and I said a slight improvement. No disrespect to Jason Peters, but I am very, very high on this offensive line. I know Rob has a reaction to that.
No, it's fun. It's not even that. I can see where people love the offensive line because it has been their bread and butter. It's funny. This is 2 years in a row where I wanted the Eagles to trade up. They did not trade up this year, as we know. It's well documented. And last year when they traded up, I'll be honest with you, shocking. It was not in my mind for Andre Dillard. The guy I wanted in the draft last year was Montez Sweat, who is now in Washington, who had a pretty solid rookie year. And here we are with a first-round pick who didn't really do too much and had these issues where he got in fights and, that mentality. I don't know where he's at. Look, I hope the kid works out because it means that we're going to have a good football team. That offense, you talk about Carson's health, it comes down to the offensive line.
Amen.
And you talk about speed receivers. Well, for them to get down the field, you need time. So Andre Dillard, it's time to put up or shut up. There's not going to be any of these. I'm not giving you any more wiggle room here. Mm-mm. It needs to happen now, or they're going to be looking at offensive lineman again in the draft next year.
Yep. Amen. Any reaction to that, JR?
No, it's nailed it. Spot on.
Absolutely nailed it. All right, so let's go into our rankings. I've been actually keeping count of our rankings here, so I'm going to share our screen here. If I can. Hold on one second. Share. Chrome. No. Application. Boom. How do we see the Eagles will perform? So, shockingly, I think the Eagles offense is going to be the best out of all three of us here. My total is 20.1 out of 25. And then we have JR, my man, with 19.75 out of 25. My man Rob with 18 out of 25. Man, drink a little bit of the Kool-Aid. Come on, dude.
Dude, listen, the past 12 to 18 months of Philadelphia sports and getting so fired up for seasons just to watch these teams fall flat on their face. I can't do it anymore. Like I was a negative fan, and then I found this positive side, and I was like, things you think of the Sixers, you think of the Eagles last year, even the Phillies with when the Bryce Harper and all this stupid money and all that, and then it's just like I was like, no, you know what? I'm gonna live on this side of the thing for a while. I'm not going to be negative. I'm not going to be positive. And I'm going to think realistically. Have they improved a lot this year? I don't think they have yet from the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, you got to play the games, but I find it laughable for Howie Roseman to come out today or yesterday, whenever it was, and say we have made leaps and bounds as an offense. Chill on that, dude.
Yeah.
All right? You're going to start sounding like Vince Young's dream team, and I'm not going back there. I'm not going back there. Howie has to say it because guess what? If they didn't improve leaps and bounds, you might be out of a job, sir.
100%.
It is what it is.
100%. I asked Twitter if the season started tomorrow, is the Eagles' offense improved? 65% said the Eagles' offense improved. 25% said significantly improved. Same as in 2019 said was 10%, and then no one voted for worse than 2019. So clearly social media is really on the bandwagon here, the Howie Roseman quarterback factory bandwagon.
They're sipping that Kool-Aid.
Maybe I'm one of them. I thought I wasn't. I honestly thought I was pretty realistic. But, I think, like you said, Rob, there is so many unproven factors here, and I think it all starts with Doug Peterson. I think it all starts with how these wide receivers and Aaron Moorhead gel and how quickly they gel and adapt to the NFL. That is a major, major key to the offense. And Jalen Reagor, man, I don't. As much as I love that pick, are the expectations too high for him? That's another question. I have no questions about the tight end spot. Major questions about the left side of the offensive line. So yeah, I'm a little surprised at that poll. I think when I was doing this poll personally, I was surprised at my voting here because I thought it's right around the same as 2019, and that's where we're at. Any last comments, JR, before we wrap it up?
If you divide us all out by what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you divide mine on 1975, I'm at like a 3.95 for the Eagles right now, which I think is actually right where they should be. You got to show me something, and I really think having this 4x1 track team around Carson is going to be awesome. It's going to be a fun, different offense, and I am drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm realistic though. I want to see Goodwin on the field. I don't want to see him get cut. I want to see Hightower and Watkins make this team. Maybe one go to the practice squad. And I want to see a workload taken off of Desean. So, move that workload onto these other young guys. Let them run. It's going to be a fun year.
All right. How about you, Rob?
Yeah, and look, there's potential for it to be really good, but we've spoke about potential in this town before. And, the amount of question marks. So going into the offseason, there were question marks. Well, now to me, the question marks are still there. Granted, there's more potential than there was at the beginning of this offseason. But I've got to see these guys play. There was a stat about wide receivers picks in rounds 4 through 7 and what they average in their first year. And it ain't great. And that doesn't – every year is different. I get that. But, look, and in that wide receiver room, JJ Arcega-Whiteside's your possession receiver now. All these other guys are considered speedsters, right? So, in my opinion, you need possession guys on your squad. Like, speed is great, but you need those guys for the underneath routes. So when those speed guys, and I guess technically you got to include the Ertz and the Goddards and things of that nature.
There's your possession guys right there.
Yeah. So I guess you got to include them. I want, before I, start buying Super Bowl tickets and stuff like that, as we've done in the past, I got to see these young guys on the field. And look, I am the first one to tell you, I've never wanted to be told I was a jackass on draft night more than watching Jalen Reagor become a Pro Bowl wide receiver right off the bat. And Chris, it's not that I didn't love Jalen Reagor. It's just I loved Justin Jefferson. And
why did you love Justin Jefferson? We need to talk about this so that people. I need to hear why people like this kid. He's like the third or fourth best option on the best team in college football.
Third or fourth best option, but he had over 1,100 yards receiving.
But that's what you're going to do when you have the best people around you. Like, I don't think if you switch him and Reagor, he's not even touching the stats Reagor put up.
Yeah, I understand what people are saying with that, but like in those hypothetical situations, it's hard to judge that. I mean, I know what people are trying to get at, but I see a guy who on the biggest stages performed at the highest levels, and I get the talent was there, but we think Carson's one of the best, do we not? So from a quarterback perspective, I don't see it getting worse for him there. And look, and he's a route runner, and he catches everything. He catches everything.
I think all of us have nightmares of Nelson Aguilar in the slot, and just that's it.
And I will continue to say, and look, I'll be proven wrong. I don't think the guy is just a slot receiver. Like, I don't think he's Jordan Matthews. I don't.
I see Jordan Matthews all over this dude's forehead. That's all I say.
And, so, I mean, and we're going to see. I mean, because obviously he's going to be a big part of the offense in Minnesota this year. And we'll see how that goes, And I don't want to compare him and Reagor for the rest of their career. But, Eagles fan base is going to do that. I mean, they're going to do that. I hope Jalen Reagor is a damn beast. I really do.
I'm a believer in Jalen Reagor, but you better believe it. I'm going to be comparing CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Reagor for the next 10 years. That is 100% fact. So you look at these rankings. I am currently a B-. Jalen JR is in that like upper echelon C+ range, and we got Rob in that like C+ range of the Eagles offense. So I think that's pretty fair. I think we nailed it. I think everyone, is kind of on the same page. There's a lot of areas that are unproven moving forward for the Eagles on offense. I think that pretty much nails it. So make sure you follow JR on Twitter at JohnRussell215. Follow Rob on Twitter at Philly_Madness, and check out the Madness podcast that can be found on anywhere you find your podcasts or here at the Painted Lines YouTube channel. Check out thepaintedlines.com for everything Eagles draft and the Philadelphia Eagles. For myself, for Rob, for JR. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Sixers win it! Wow! Oh, man, and being just posterized Russell Westbrook. You love the Philadelphia Eagles! Let me get a